The New York Giants have done it. They have made the move. They are starting rookie Jaxson Dart, benching Russell Wilson, and people are fired up about this. A lot of people think that this is a mistake, and we have to talk about it. We got to talk about the 49ers, another devastating injury for them. Nick Bosa, torn ACL. This Niners team is old. We got to talk about if this year is a wash for them. And then the Lions-Ravens game on Monday night. Oh my goodness. The Detroit Lions bullied the Ravens. And then, of course, Micah Parsons is playing his old team, the Dallas Cowboys. That's going to go down. And then we've got this interesting ranking of quarterbacks by decade, and we're going to try and decide which decade we think has the best quarterbacks. So, a lot to get into, but let's start off with the New York Giants. The New York Giants are putting Russell Wilson on the bench, and they are starting Jaxson Dart. Obviously, they made the move, traded up to get him, first overall quarterback drafted this year, and looked pretty good in some preseason games. This is a controversial decision, and people are kind of split on it. And where do we stand right here? How are you feeling initially?
I absolutely love Jaxson Dart and everything we've seen out of him. I mean, we've heard great things coming out of Ole Miss, why his stock was rising in the draft and all of that. And there are reasons behind it, valid reasons that you want a dude like this in your locker room. You want a dude like this leading your offense, leading your team. I do not like this decision. I think it is way too early. And you mentioned it last episode, Nick, the desperation, it reeks of desperation for the coaching staff. And I think that is the worst case scenario for a young quarterback, regardless of their skill level, regardless of their cerebral capabilities or anything like that, because he was in the SEC for a while and played against great top talent. I think this is always a bad first move for a rookie quarterback to be thrown out there to try and be a savior. All the pressure's on him. He has probably 4 weeks of rope to start producing before the media in New York starts turning on him again. We've seen this so many times before. It is just doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I cannot stand it. New York is so susceptible to this sort of motion, and I feel for Jaxson. I think he's going to be a great NFL player, but he's going to have a rough couple of years.
I think it's absolutely the wrong move right now. And let's say that you want to argue that, okay, you know what, might as well put him in. Why are they doing it this week? Look who they're playing this week. They're playing the LA Chargers, who's one of the best defenses in the league. Like, if you're going to follow this logic at all and be like, oh, it's time, we got to put him in. Why not wait one more week when you're playing New Orleans, a team that is struggling and would be a much easier transition into starting an NFL regular season game? So it just kind of just shows, in my opinion, the incompetence and the rushed nature of this decision. It's just like, I don't even know what the goal is here, because they're sitting at 0-3, and you look at this schedule here: Chargers, Eagles, at Denver, at Philly. That's 4 losses probably. For a rookie quarterback coming in here, this guy that you moved up to draft early to get, and we've been impressed by him. He's looked good. And even when we talked to your uncle, Scott, he was just raving about him, his leadership capabilities. I think this is going to set him back. That's the concern. It's going to set him back because he's going to get banged around going against that Chargers defense. And we're going to see that situation that we've seen with some other quarterbacks where now it might take 2 or 3 years for him to really bounce back and get his footing here. So I just think that this is way too rushed, and I don't understand the logic.
Yeah, it's tough to say there's much outside of, they've done this before. And I get the sense that a lot of it, I was talking last episode about, hopefully there's a relationship between Mara and Daboll where they understand each other. They understand what the plan is with a guy like this, with a talent like Jaxson Dart, why they moved up to get him, all of that. And okay, we're going to approach this differently. We're going to develop him. We have 2 solid vets in the quarterback room to help him develop on the X's and O's side of the game, the speed of the game, get him up to speed so that he's comfortable before we ever toss him out there. That was all thrown out the window. And I get the sense we've heard Mara also talk about how he's tired of telling his friends or explaining to his friends why his team is losing and all that. So there may be a personal, okay, I'm sick and tired of this. I just want to see us win. Let's throw this guy out there and hopefully he'll get the job done. I think that approach is just so short-sighted. And I get it. They've been bad ever since Eli left. But don't do this to a guy. Don't do it to another one. You've seen this happen before, and you got to recognize hey, it may be you. That's the common denominator.
It might be
Here's
you.
my concern. Okay, you see in the picture, Nick, that you just had pulled up. Why is he wearing a chain on his pads on game? I don't want my quarterback to be that kind of guy that wears a jewelry chain on his pads, underneath his pads on a game day. Stop it. It's just all that says is my mind's not in the right place. How do I look right now? How do I look? Forget the game. What do I look like right now? I don't.
Concerning.
That's a red flag for me. That's like Colin Cowherd's backwards hat theory. That's what.
Wait, I'm so confused. I thought you were pro swag guy. That's swaggy.
Football swag. Okay, you gotta stay in the lane. Football swag. You don't cross pollinate swag.
So chain. Are you okay, Mike? Are you okay? And Scott Uzo with a wide receiver wearing a chain under his. You see like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase wearing a chain. Where do you stand on that?
I mean, I understand it. I don't support it. I think it's stupid. It's always a distraction. Half the time it falls off. Half the time you're thinking about it. Okay. Every teammate I've had who wears chains, it has fallen off during the course of a game at some point in the season. And they have to, after the game, walk around the field and look around. Hey, has anybody seen my chain? Anyone see that? Don't wear a chain during the game, idiot.
I would also be really worried about like getting choked. Like a lot of hands go in a lot of different places. And that's just seems not so smart to me. But if you're a wide receiver, I get the flash. It fits. It's on brand. Scott, what about you? Would you ever be a chain wearer?
No. Personally, I would not be doing it. I get it. Like Mikey's saying, I totally understand why dudes do it. But there's a level where that you hit. If you go beyond it, like if you have more than one chain on, you're doing too much. This dude is like New York's first Gen Z quarterback. So they're probably loving it and seeing it. He's got the Anakin Skywalker black eye black and everything like that. Sure. So he's bringing a different sauce to New York that had you had the Eli Manning before this. You had the Dan Jones after that. So he's bringing a little something different, and I appreciate that to a certain extent. But I still think if you got vets like Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston in your quarterback room, you use them up as much as you can before you ever put a guy that is a rookie, still learning the ropes, in like gameplay feel. Yeah. And it just makes no sense to me. Put Jameis out there. I don't care. What is he going to throw more interceptions than Russell?
Yeah. They're looking at the eye black in the chain. They're saying, you know what? This guy has the confidence. Let's throw him to the wolves and see how he does. That's
he does have the confidence. And he has the talent. It's just too early. And I can't remember the Giants O-line. We looked at it. They were 30th in the NFL.
Yeah, because we were comparing Scattaboo and Genti and their offensive lines, and the Giants was worse at 31 or something.
Giants have a brutal schedule. Like we just looked at the next 5 coming up. Then they got San Francisco, Chicago is something. Green Bay, Detroit looks incredible. All right, New England is the next easy game in December. Like it's very possible that this team is 2-11 at that point. And it's just like Jaxson Dart. I think. All right, they're doing this. All right, whatever. That's your choice. But they have to manage the expectations and be like, we're not going to have a successful win-loss season here. If we see Jaxson Dart improving and being comfortable and confident in the pocket, and we see some of that, like this isolated improvement, all right, they're fine. But you can't be thinking Jaxson Dart is going to get us wins because it's just with that offensive line, it's not going to work. Well, they look back at like a rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels last year, who had success with getting wins and making it all the way to the NFC Championship game. There's a lot of other pieces around that, and I just don't think that Jaxson Dart has that surrounding him. So,
I agree with you. Like that's the approach you should have. But New York has notoriously they've never had that in their thinking.
You can't ask. Yeah, you can't ask these Italian guys in North Jersey to manage their expectations. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, all right.
Maybe for a week at most, but then you see the product on the field, they're going to get immediately back in their natural habitat mode and want wins right away. And that's why I'm saying this is the worst case scenario for Jaxson with a terrible offensive line. I mean, you got Scattaboo getting CTE every time he can possibly try every play, but like there's a limit to that. And if your quarterback is rushed and you can't get it to your weapon in Neighbors out there, what are we doing? What are we doing? Just relax, let let Russell, like, give him a couple more games to like figure out if he's fallen apart or if he can get back on track, and or throw in Jameis. That's just my approach here, and I get it. They want to win. They want to win now. It's a what have you done for me lately league and all that kind of stuff. But when the fans are the ones who just can't stand losing a couple games, like in Brian Kelly's words, you're kind of spoiled.
Yeah. Can we also talk about how depressing this second half of Russell Wilson's career has been?
Yeah.
Just every coach moving off him, like going from Seattle to Denver. Sean Payton didn't want him. Then he goes to Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin moves off him. They had the collapse last year. And then now here to New York. And then Dable moving off him after 3 games.
It makes you appreciate Pete Carroll. That's what it does.
And every athlete kind of has to do this as they age, right? So the way he played before, he used his legs far more often to get out of situations. And so he was a dual threat dude for all intents and purposes. He wasn't a Lamar Jackson, but he was dangerous back there because you didn't know what he was going to do.
He had the mobility of Baker.
Yeah. But it seems as though in the past 5, 6, maybe even 7 years, every year he's decreased his wantingness to get outside of the pocket and to scoot. And I don't know if that's just self-protection and preservation or if, something else is going on, but he's definitely sitting back there willing to throw the ball into more precarious situations, putting it at risk a little more, or just not even getting it there because he's rushed. So his game's changed.
His game has changed, and that's fair. Like his mobility has certainly changed, which that affects the type of player that he was. But I'm also shocked at his decision making. That 4-play stretch down there in the red zone and their last
goal line,
game, and then the 4th down where he just threw it out the back of the end zone. So it's I can't chalk that up to he can't really run anymore. That's a strange collapse in the mental aspect and the decision making aspect of his game.
Well, that's what I'm saying is because he's not running and not giving himself that out. Yep. He's willing to put the ball in more precarious situations, and he's willing to do things like that, throw it away, or put it at risk of putting in a double coverage, triple coverage, all of that kind of stuff, because he's not willing to run. So if he were to just do it, I think the pressure would be alleviated from the defensive side of the ball. Guys wouldn't be covering in the same way because he's that threat.
You think he just is choosing not to do it? I think he's just old and slow now. He can't do it.
Yeah, that's a mental thing though. He still is fast. He still can move. He's choosing not to because there's an element of fear. As you grow older, the less Superman-like you feel, and and that starts entering into your psychology.
He takes himself a little bit too seriously in the corniness, and I think that's all, as he's gained stardom in his career, that's all leaked into it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's my analysis.
Yeah, he's 36 years old. I just looked it up. I don't think he's fast anymore. 36, dude. Scott, we're in our 30s. It goes downhill quickly.
No, dude. Okay. When you hit 40, yeah. But Nick, you and I can still run a sub 4.9 right now. That's possible. You know that. So it's still fast. It's still movable. You can still escape certain players and you can still make things happen. Is he as fast as he was when he was 23? No. But he's got the knowledge and wisdom of how to escape the pocket in certain ways and gain yards. And he's just choosing not to, because I honestly think it's more of a psychological fear because he knows he's lost maybe a 10th or 2 on his 40 and maybe decides not to do it because he's older and may get injured when he does get hit.
Well, whatever it is making me sad to see a Super Bowl winning quarterback just fizzle out.
Yeah.
Such a depressing way. This is why I'm always so pro players retiring early and not overstaying their welcome. I'm trying to think of some other good examples here, but just going out on top, I think there's just something to be said for that. Cause it's just, I hate to see these aging stars just cling on to it. And then it just damages their reputation and legacy.
Yeah. He's had sparks where he's shown he can sit in the pocket and throw the ball and deliver the ball. The first 2 games, he was actually playing pretty dang well. So the fact that they're pulling him after 3 is kind of frustrating. It's
wait a second though. Who was one of those games against? The Dallas Cowboys defense, who is horrible. So, I could have thrown 170 yards against Dallas defense. Okay. And
he threw 450 yards. So
it's just, You've seen me throw. I throw funky side. It's not good. It's not good. All right, let's. So that's what we got in New York. Jaxson Dart. I wish you the best, brother. Hopefully that we're wrong and he just comes in and is just balling right away. Because I am a fan of his. I am a big fan of his.
I'll say it again. He has a bright future in the NFL. I just don't think he's ready to go into the shit show that is the Giants right now.
Trav. All right. Let's pivot over to the West Coast. Nick Bosa, 49ers. Cursed. It is confirmed. This graphic says believed to have torn. I believe now it is confirmed. Nick Bosa torn ACL and is out for the year. The 49ers are so cursed with injuries. And I don't even know, because they are the oldest, and I always harp on this, they're the oldest roster in the NFL. But how old is Bosa? Bosa's like less than 30, I think.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, this is just devastating. What do we make of this? Let's not forget, the 49ers have the easiest schedule. They've started off 3-0. Brock Purdy has been hurt. Now Nick Bosa, their most prominent defensive player, is injured. What do we think?
Yeah, this one I think might be the straw that breaks the camel's back for the Niners this year. He is such a force on the defensive line, and he has to take so many eyes and so many bodies to keep him from doing what he does best, get to the quarterback. So his ability to just be a black hole for offensive eyes is off the charts. And it's crazy to see a guy, even as physically built and gifted as this, to go down with a tendon or a ligament injury like this. It's so infuriating when something like that happens, because this dude is built like a freaking jungle cat, like a freaking tiger. And you look at it, it's just like, how just that little tweak pops the ACL or pops the Achilles or anything like that. It's just, Mikey, talk to the imbalances.
Okay. The first thing is, I think maybe he's a little too jacked, and it's the stiffness. You can see, like, there's a little bit of stiffness, and that's what I think contributes to the ACL. But it's like when you tear your ACL once, like your likelihood of doing the other knee is like quadrupled or something crazy. And I don't know if it's the same knee he did or if it's the other one, but that sucks. Either way, it sucks. After you do your knee once, you need to be doing single leg bounding before every single practice. That's 101. If you're not doing that, you will guarantee do your other knee. I guarantee you have to force the single leg stability, and you have to correct the imbalances, because there's going to be such a severe imbalance after an ACL like that. And even years later, if you forget it, your body will revert to that imbalance, because it's new memory. And so even now I feel it.
Can I just say, like, you guys both sort of, this is off topic, but you both have like your catchphrases on the show. Like Mikey always finds a way to talk about muscle imbalance. Scott, you always find a way to talk about rugby. What do I have? Okay. What do I even have? Who am I in the show? Okay.
You talk about air conditioning, Nick, and
what is mine?
ELF.
Shout out. All right. Scott, you kind of think that the 49ers season is a wash. I do not. Okay, first, all right, talk to me about this first. Before
don't put words in my mouth. Don't put words in my mouth.
You insinuated via your facial expressions and some things that you said.
No, my implication was not what you were inferring. So all I'm saying here is, like, I think on the defensive side of the ball, we looked at it last year. That was the big problem with the Niners. It wasn't the offense. It was the defense was just so porous, and they were letting up so many points. And they didn't have the same sort of firepower that the Bengals were somehow conjuring up on the offensive side of the ball. They were solid because it's Shanahan and it's Purdy, and they got weapons with McCaffrey and everybody. Granted, McCaffrey was injured as well. So it's like, I think right now they have a solid enough offense to compete for sure. But the fact that we're going back to the conversation of defense being a question mark and losing your top guy, there's only so much certain people can do on that roster right now, because he was such, like I said, a black hole for offensive players and other teams. So it's put into question. They're not going to be nearly as formidable. The defense just needs to be able to clamp down more often than not.
Fair. I mean, yes, when you lose an all-pro pass rusher like that, there's a lot of ripple effects from the defense. This is why these are the highest paid guys on defense. That's the most important position in modern day NFL defenses. What do you think of this? This is floating around on the interwebs. I saw a lot of people proposing this. 49ers should trade for Trey Hendrickson after losing Nick Bosa. Actually, real quick, I want to watch what this guy says. I want to hear his justification.
The 49ers have shown with their 3-0 start, how they played defensively, how they performed offensively with two different quarterbacks. They can win now. They can compete in 2025. And when you make a blockbuster move like this, it gives the rest of the locker room belief and confidence that the guys upstairs, the front office, also believe in the current existing players on the roster, that they can go out and they can compete for a championship this season. And the 49ers, obviously, in losing Nick Bosa, lost an elite player. And he's been one of the top pass rushers in the game. Well, if you trade for Trey Hendrickson, you gain one. And so you're able to neutralize that loss to a certain degree. And I know that the Bengals are 2-1 right now, but Jake Browning is their quarterback. Joe Burrow is out until December. He had turf toe so bad, he had to undergo surgery. They're not going to be competing for a playoff spot in a loaded AFC, and it wouldn't surprise me if they start to stack up losses soon, which could make Hendrickson expendable. And the Bengals are a joke of a franchise. They are historically cheap. No player in the NFL has more sacks the last 2 years than Hendrickson. 17 and a half in 2023 and 2024. Yet, they didn't give him an extension when he wanted it. When he wanted to see, not a desirable place for a lot of players across the NFL. So all they did was up his pay in 2025. They gave him no long-term security, no contract extension, and so clearly he's not a part of their plans. Hendrickson, be a part of the Niners' plan. John Lynch, go get him.
Interesting. Some of the points he raises, I think the Bengals season is a wash. So that I think that's accurate. I think that's for sure accurate. That 2-1 that they're sitting at is absolutely fraudulent and will not hold. The 49ers, even though they're injury ridden right now, like I said, their schedule is so easy. Like they could end up really a decently high seed in the playoffs here. What do you make of that proposal?
I love it. I think he's right. We've talked about how Trey Hendrickson is just a football guy, and his negotiation skills may be a little off. He doesn't have Mulangetta with him when he's making these decisions like Micah did. All in all, though, I think this is actually a great idea for the Niners, and it also they can sell it in the way that this guy kind of just articulated. One, he can join up with football guys themselves, like the front office. John Lynch, are you kidding me? Like defensive safety, like legend in the NFL. Like he obviously knows ball. He knows what he's doing. You can go into a culture that wants to win, has a history of winning. Yes, you may be a very loyal individual. And I think Trey Hendrickson is. And that's why he's there. Even in having these difficult conversations over the course of 3 years, he's still there. So he's a super loyal guy. This is going to be difficult to kind of extract him out of that thinking to get him over there. But I think if anybody can, it's somebody else who's a football guy through and through. And I think John Lynch could do it.
I think also he would just fit really well with the 49ers culturally. I do think John Lynch is he is the type of guy that would make that type of move. And just with how things are aligning, I mean, the fact that they're 3-0 right now, Brock's going to come back. That would be crazy. When's the trade deadline? It's like 4 weeks, right? Isn't there mid-October or end of
some time? And I think the guy's right too. And maybe Hendrickson, it was at least a solution in the moment to get him to play ball again, because again, he is a football guy. He just wanted to get out there and he didn't want to continue this conversation or this negotiation thing. I think if the Niners show loyalty and it's like, hey, here's a 3-5 year contract, whatever, you're coming in, you're going to get paid, and we want you to be part of this culture, this team, and really make a difference. You're going to be beloved. I think that may be the tipping point. And I don't hate this idea whatsoever.
I mean, it kind of brings me back to when Christian was with the Panthers, and he was so loyal to the Panthers, and he was like, I want to be here forever. And of course the trade went down, and I just feel like it's such a better fit at the 49ers for him. I feel like the same thing, sort of similar type situation that could happen. Who knows? We're just speculating here, but I think that there is some credibility to the theory that this guy's proposing, and I would actually love to see it. All right, let's talk about the Monday Night Football game quickly. The Lions going to Baltimore And what is that? There's like this crazy record that Lamar Jackson is like 33-2 or something against the NFC. Something ridiculous. It might be like one loss against the NFC.
Yeah.
And damn, the Lions came in, and this score, it ended up being 38-30. The game was not that close. It was not that close at all. The Lions kind of bullied them.
Yeah.
And I got to say, I made a little short about this. Like, I was really worried about the Lions. I thought it was going to be a big step back with them losing both of their coordinators. And this is them. Okay? The Lions showing off their new offense with John. The Lions look the exact same. You see some of those trick plays, the offense humming, the ballsiness. I know a lot of that comes from Dan Campbell, not necessarily the coordinators. Yeah. But I came away from that game like, oh, how dare I ever question the culture that Dan Campbell has instilled? It does not matter. They looked great. What'd you make of that?
Man, we definitely slept on the Lions a little bit. Put them into question a little too much. The culture he built. Yeah. It's like obviously Dan Campbell built his cultural foundation on more than just sand. Like this guy went to the depths to really make this thing happen and really turn this organization around. And we're seeing that product at least last week, and week number 2. Week number 1 was the scary part. But ever since then, you see that step forward each week, and the fact that they just obliterated the Ravens for all intents and purposes with some great offensive drives. Like I think he's putting to bed the question mark that everybody had for him, and kudos to him, man. We always talk about culture and culture building coaches. You got Harbaugh in the college ranks. You got Marcus Freeman, and our hopes were for Dabo Swinney, but that's not happening right now. So like we love the culture builders, and he is absolutely that dude, and it's coming through. The culture is coming through, regardless of who you got in there. That is what remains, the culture. And looking at the game specifically, something's going on. And I don't know what it is with Derrick Henry. This is the first time in his career he's coughed at the ball 3 times in 3 games. They've lost 2 of them. But the fact that he has 3, because I was like, oh, he never fumbles. That was like a black swan event. Boy, was I wrong. What's going on?
Mike, can you speak to this? Because it feels like he has like essentially the yips.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that can happen. Yeah. And especially because then – go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, real quick, because in the ELF championship game last year, there was this running back, one of the best in the league, hadn't fumbled the entire season, and then he fumbled once in like the first quarter, and then he was so worried about fumbling, and then he fumbled again. So it's just like you get the yips with fumbling.
Yeah. And here's the other thing: once you fumble once, then you have people on the staff going every time before you're in the huddle, you go in the game. Hey, hold on to the ball. Okay, that is the dumbest thing that you can say to a player. It's the dumbest thing ever. Because now all they're doing is hyper-focusing on this. Their eyes are down. They shrivel up. They tense up, okay? And you are losing your vision. You're losing opportunity. And also, it doesn't work because now you get like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Once you get into this fumble thing, it's like it's really a confidence thing somehow. It's really interesting. But like you can get in those slumps where it's just like, I don't know how it keeps getting popped out. I don't know what. It's easy to probably slack in Indy and lose the ball security drills because they're the most tedious and so boring. And you're like, I don't need to do this. But it really is so important to do daily ball security drills, 5 minutes in practice.
Yeah, it feels like Derrick Henry has the Nick Alfieri approach when it comes to Indy. It doesn't really matter.
I agree with everything you said there, Mikey. I just don't think Derrick Henry is one of those guys, as we've seen throughout his career, to be the one to slack during that time. I agree with you. It's more of a psychological thing, I think, at this point, where we look at kickers. We talked about that. You get the yips there, but you can get it with holding on to the ball.
How about this? Can we maybe not focus on the offensive player and maybe talk about the defensive player? How about we look at this? It was Aiden Hutchinson who popped it out. It was an incredible play. Ooh. I hope they show a slow-mo of that. You can't really see it. Or let's see.
Yeah, I'm seeing like every 5th frame.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, can you see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So he came from behind.
He came from behind. Well, I mean, he had like Lamar on as his responsibility, and then once he saw Lamar handed it off. Then he comes back upfield, comes from behind, just punches it out. It's like, I mean,
there's
skill.
nothing you can do there. And punch
what
out
can you
behind. There's nothing, especially when your eyes are forward on a different threat. There's just nothing you can do from behind. I mean, you got to keep your elbow in. You got to keep your elbow in, but it's like realistically, when you're playing, you're trying to be athletic and make somebody miss. The ball's gonna come off your body a little bit, and if somebody's behind you, they're gonna get a shot.
If you went back to that, did he come over top from behind, or was it up?
He came over top. Here it is. Here,
Here,
let me throw it up again. He came over top from behind. Let's see. Yeah, here it is.
Mikey, did you ever wear sleeves?
No, we weren't allowed to as running backs.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously done it for a lot of his career.
He's wearing forearm sleeves?
Forearm sleeves. He's also a little loosey-goosey right there with the ball. That is not high and tight. He's out there.
That's crazy. I didn't even really fully realize he wears sleeves. That's so hard.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Grip.
Yeah, but he's done it a lot throughout his career. So it's like, what's the difference here? Why is it all of a sudden becoming an issue? And like Nick, yeah, it's a little loosey-goosey right there. But I wonder if we got the other 2 fumbles during the previous 2 games, like whether it's the same or if something else is going
on those. But all right. So part of it's Derrick Henry. I think he's got a little bit of fumbles, yips, and part of it is like that Lions defense was crazy. They were all over. The Ravens look flustered, and Lamar ended up with like a solid stat line, like 3 touchdowns. He ran for a bunch, but he was sacked 7 times.
Yeah,
and it's just like. Man, and there were certain plays, and who was that? Jack Campbell, also the big tall linebacker out of Iowa, the young kid for the Lions, also great, kind of just all over the field. I'm just gassed up about the Lions right now, and I don't know if I'm too excited, but I think this was a huge win on the road. What do we think here? How far can the Lions go? Wouldn't it be kind of ironic? Is it the year that they lose both of their coordinators that all of a sudden they go and win the Super Bowl? What do we think? How far will they go?
The way they looked the other night, yeah, I think that's absolutely possible. Because the Ravens, their record, what are they? 0-3 right now, or 1-2?
1-2.
Yeah, 1-2. That's not indicative of the type of team they are. Like we all know how good the Ravens are. I think the biggest thing is, to your point, the fact that Lamar got sacked 7 times. We've rarely seen him in a situation like that, and if we do, it's in the playoff game, heightened sort of nerves or pressure or things of that nature. Yeah, he got his numbers. Yeah, he got his team in a position to win. But when your offensive line is giving up that many sacks, that's a tough thing to come back from. I think with the Lions, the biggest thing here is the fact that they have, again, improved each week to a massive degree. And the defense clamping down like that, if you can stay consistent, which Aaron Glenn did with a emaciated roster last year, none of his starters were out there on the field, essentially, or it felt like.
They had like 30 injuries on defense.
Yeah.
They had Tingus Pingus from NFL playing linebacker.
Yeah, dude. But that's when it comes down to just culture. It's like everybody in that locker room clearly believes in the singular mission of Dan Campbell and the organization. And when you got something like that, anything can happen with whoever you have on the roster. So, I think sky's the limit for Super Bowl aspirations. Will they get there? I'm not ruling them out.
Okay, well, you know what, Scott? That's a positive one from you. Not ruling them out. Scott's not ruling them out. It's like in Germany, if they're going to actually give you a compliment, a lot of times they'll say, "That's not bad." So, Scott, if you think a team could maybe win the Super Bowl, that's your compliment. Rule them out. Not bad. Maybe you have a chance.
I think we found your thing, though. In the past 10 minutes, you brought up ELF in Germany. So we found your thing, Nick.
Oh, the guy in the middle of Europe can't stop talking about Europe. You're right. You got me. That's my identity. Let's just really quick, because you were talking about the Ravens. This is the start of their schedule. Like, they lost to Buffalo by 1 point. That was a crazy game. One of the best teams in the NFL. All right, they kind of smacked Cleveland. The Detroit game, obviously a 1-score game. It was not as close as this, but then it's just a tough start to the season there. I will say what's weird about the Ravens, they have statistically the worst defense in the NFL right now. They've given up like 1,200 yards over the course of 3 games. Granted, they played, like I said, Buffalo and Detroit, but it's strange to talk about the Ravens and as having a weak defense. That worries me for them down the line. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it is unusual for the organization to let that many points be put up on them. But you're right. I think they played two of what will be the guys in the MVP conversation once again in Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. So like stopping those two dudes is a little different than stopping Browning at Cincinnati.
Don't disrespect Jake Browning. Okay. All right. Talking about quarterbacks and some of the best we've ever seen. This popped up. Okay. This is going around. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. I think this is cool. Trying to decide which decade of quarterbacks was the best right here. We've got the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s, okay? The 90s, Brett Favre, John Elway, Steve Young, Troy Aikman. 2000s, Tommy B, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Big Ben. 2010s, Aaron Rodgers, Andrew Luck, Matthew Stafford, Matt Ryan. 2020s, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joey B. Burrow. All right. This is interesting. This is kind of tough here.
I know the answer.
Okay, which decade are you taking, Mike? You want to go first?
The correct answer is the 2000s. You have Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, because you get the height range here. You get the grittiness range. You get under, you get people who were, you have a first round pick, and then you have one of the lowest picks in Drew Brees. You get a whole range, and they're all elite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. 2020s is all first round picks. I think, except for Mahomes, right?
No, he was late first round. First round.
Okay. So there's no story there. There's no grit.
No grit.
They were handed everything on a silver platter. Here's the team. Here are the keys. Here's all the support you need.
Very interesting. Okay. Scott?
This one's I agree with Mikey. I think 2000s, even if you look at just Super Bowl wins and the domination of each of those guys, they each have more, or I guess Drew only had one, but they each had Super Bowl wins. The only one that's equivalent to that is the 90s, in terms of Super Bowl wins. I don't want to overlook the 90s because Steve Young, I don't think gets enough love for what he did in San Francisco during the 90s and taking over for Montana once he left. Brett Favre, gunslinger, turned the ball over a lot, but different type of game back then. I think what's really interesting here and what's the worst, and it's hard to say this, but the worst grouping here is the 2010s. Even though they may have the two, outside of Dan Marino, the two best throwers of the ball to ever play the game in Matt Stafford and Aaron Rodgers. You just have to look at like Super Bowl wins, impressiveness across the board. Like Aaron's still playing. I would almost ball him into the 2000s group, even though he's younger.
Yeah, I was going to say, when did he start in Green Bay? I would also say, given how this is right now, 2010s is clearly the worst.
Yeah.
Does Matt Ryan deserve to be in there? Is there not another quarterback of the 2010s that we think should be in there?
No, I think that's probably appropriate. I mean, he was,
yes. I don't want to disrespect.
Yeah, I mean, he won MVP. I mean, he got his team to the Super Bowl, and the only person that could have ever defeated him in a moment being up 28-3 is Tom Brady with Bill Belichick in his ear. Like so he came up against the absolute gargantuan giant in that game. So he was this close. Also with the 2000s, you can throw in Phillip Rivers there too. And I was watching, and Eli Manning. So you look at, I was watching the touchdowns. There was some post out there, the touchdown numbers that have been happening with each quarterback and how they shifted throughout the years. And how far ahead Tom Brady is of everybody else right now is mind-blowing. And just crazy. Seeing all four of those dudes being in the top 10 for a substantial amount of the past 20 years is mind-blowing. And again, different era. Brett Favre was in there. He was at the top for quite some time before Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and Tom Brady came through. But yeah, it's undeniable that the 2000s are the best right here. And Drew Brees doesn't get enough love.
No, he does not. I wonder, how do we categorize each of these? Okay, so like the 90s, the 2000s, 20. What is each group the best at? Now, I would say the 2000s, especially when you got Peyton and Tom Brady, I feel like mentality-wise and just the psychological aspect, I just feel like they're such killers. 2010s, I think talented arms with Stafford and Rodgers. I'm looking at those two guys mostly. Andrew Luck, obviously, just a whiz kid as well, but just like he didn't play long enough. 2020s, what would you say? Would we say
mobility?
Mobility, yeah. I was going to say like creative also.
Yeah,
I think they changed the way the position's been played.
Yeah, I would say creatively mobile grouping there. I agree with you. 2010s is arm strength off the charts. 2000s, psycho mentality, like serial killers kind of stuff. Save from maybe Ben. Ben was just different. And then 90s, I would say just pure grit. Like talk about old school football guys. They could get hit by a truck, get up and take the next snap. Like I think that is the differentiator for the 90s. They just injury or hurt. And it was always just, no, I'm hurt.
I think that's a good way to group all of these. Okay, so this is interesting. I'm wondering what people think is the best decade. If you got any, let us know.
And statistically, it's hard to compare apples to apples because, as you just mentioned right there, the 2020s changed the game, the way it's played, and the pass happy league it is now. It's just those numbers aren't going to necessarily match up the same way.
That's the thing. You can't. I mean, that's why it's so hard to do a comparison because you cannot compare the numbers like at all.
Yeah.
Just because everything has changed so much. So I just wonder, like, what if we dropped John Elway in his prime into the 2020s NFL? Like, how would that look? Or Brett Favre? Like, who would be Brett Favre of the modern NFL? I have seen people say, and it's
Baker,
that it's Jordan Love, even though that he plays for the
interesting.
I kind of like Baker, Mike. I do kind of like Baker. He's got that grittiness.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, with the Elway one, I would say even if he dropped into the 2020s, he'd still perform at a high level because we even saw a guy that was closer to the 90s and still had that sort of grit, that toughness, even after the ACL tear and the changing of the rules. Like Tom Brady in the 2020s was still pulling out, won a Super Bowl, all that kind of stuff. So I don't think and he was much more akin to a John Elway player than the 2020s guy.
It's crazy that, have you seen that stat? Like you can break up Tom Brady's career into like three chapters and they would be a Hall of Fame career for each chapter. So
unbelievable,
like, dude. 2000s or the 2010s. It's like, I was watching Tom in 2022 play.
Yeah.
It's just so great. So it's you can't really put him in a category. All right. So there we have that. Last thing. I do want to get your guys' opinions on this. So Micah, the Packers are playing the Cowboys Thursday Night Football, and this was going around that Jerry was asked if they're going to do a tribute for Micah, and he said, no, that would not be appropriate. And people are like kind of up in arms about this. I was like, what? A guy he was a defensive end for like, 3-4 years? Like, yeah, he was great, but it's like, the Patriots even it was scratching and clawing to make Tom Brady's like what are we talking about here?
Yeah. This is so premature. I can't believe that people actually were asking for this, wanted this, or were mad that there was no tribute granted to him. This only makes sense. I've never been a fan of the farewell tour, like even Kobe's, Dirk Nowitzki's in the NBA. Like, I don't like that. To your point, Nick, earlier about going out on top. I think when you're just applauding somebody because they're decrepit out there and not performing at the same level, and it's like stark, they're not performing at the same level, that's tough to be like cheering you on every 82 games or something like that, or 17 games in the NFL. So the thing with the Micah thing is you got to play at least a decade for that group, or upwards of 8 years before you ever get the chance to do that. Like, I don't get this whatsoever.
Also, you have to like depart the organization in a way that is not so clunky and messy, I think.
Yes.
Like, that was a messy depart. That was a weird divorce between Micah and the Packers, or Micah and the Cowboys and Jerry. It's just like silly, stupid. What do we think? Dallas or Green Bay tomorrow? Excuse me. This is Monday.
Green Bay.
Yeah, I think it's a get right game for Green Bay. But they did show some holes in their defense, giving up the points that they did to the Browns, especially being up 10-0. And the thing is with the Cowboys, their weakness isn't the offense. It's just the defense.
No,
How's the defense
their
going to come out?
defense
So
honestly, I could start on their defense right now, probably. Any position. That's how bad they are.
Corner?
Yeah, I'm about to be the Reed Blankenship. Okay?
That's good.
God forbid a white boy get a little motion. Have you guys seen those memes with the exciting whites, and they always put that? Or anytime Baker's down in the fourth quarter, and it's like a meme of who is the guy that stars in Pulp Fiction? Jeez, why am I
John Travolta?
John Travolta. It's John Travolta, and it's just God forbid a white boy get a little motion. Okay, God forbid. All right, there we have it. Thank you everybody for watching.